Well, good afternoon and welcome to the special meeting of the Apache Junction City Council. Appreciate all of your attendance here. I'll call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call.
Mayor Coleman.
Present.
Vice Mayor Eck.
Here.
Councilmember Dietz.
Here.
Councilmember Insulato.
Here.
Councilmember Sievers.
Here.
Councilmember Sippel.
Present.
Councilmember Waldron.
Here.
All members present, Your Honor. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 3, request for reconsideration of ordinance number 1283, case PZ-13-06, a city-initiated rezoning request for property located at 2851 South Tomahawk Road. And I'm going to ask the city attorney, if you would, to lead us into this, and if you could explain to us why we're able to be here tonight, or this afternoon, I should say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. Back on December 5th, the Mayor and City Council voted 4-3 to approve the zoning request for this property. Under Arizona state law, the ordinance would not take effect until 30 days after the ordinance was signed or until the minutes were available. In this case, the minutes were signed on the 6th, so the ordinance would actually be effective on January 6th. The 30th day would have been the 5th. So that would be next Saturday. So the mayor and city council have until the effective date, if they wanted to change it or to reconsider it. The 30-day period also acts as a referendum period. So anybody could take a referendum out, provided they have a completed referendum petition. They actually would then submit that with the city clerk's office, and then there could be any challenges after that, as long as they get the signatures in by that deadline. So the 30-day period serves as a reason for a referendum, or under state law, the legislator wanted it to be at least 30 days before it becomes effective. You cannot do an emergency clause on a zoning matter. So we're here today under Robert's rules, which the City Council has adopted as the parliamentary procedure. Anyone from the presiding side can do a motion for reconsideration. And in this case, Mr. Dietz has done that. What would happen after that, if the motion for reconsideration is voted on, and a majority says, yes, we want to vote to reconsider the matter, it then would go to the second item, and that would be basically a new rezoning hearing on the matter. And that's why we did post it. We posted it for everybody that would have seen the notice before, within the 150-foot level. Sorry, 300-foot. Whichever one it is. I forget which one it is, but I believe it's the 300-foot level. So everybody who was here on December 7th hopefully got a notice this time around also, if they were within that circumference. I think that's all the background information you need at this time. What the council can do, if this does go to the actual public hearing part of this agenda, the council can vote on it again as if it was a new item. And I don't really want to predict what's going to happen, because I don't want to give you options until I'm asked to. So, anything else? I'm open for any questions.
Any questions from members of the council? Okay, thank you. I'll go over to Councilman Dietz then for a motion.
I move that we reconsider our previous actions taken on December 5th, 2006 on ordinance number 1283 PZ-13-06, a city-initiated rezoning request for property located at 2851 South Tomahawk Road. Do I read, Joel, the second portion of this? I further move that this reconsideration take place on December 29th.
Yes.
Continue with the full, okay. I further move that this reconsideration take place on December 29th, 2006 at 3:30 p.m. in the City of Apache Junction Council Chambers in accordance with the legal notice as published in the Mesa Tribune on December 14th, 2006.
Second.
Moved and seconded, roll call.
Councilmember Deeds?
Yes.
Councilmember Insalaco?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eck?
Kathy, what is this for?
This is just the motion for reconsideration. It's to allow further discussion to take place. It does not make changes.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Councilmember Severs?
No.
Councilmember Sippel?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldron?
Yes.
Mayor Coleman?
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion carries, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll go on then to the public hearing. Reconsideration of proposed ordinance number 1286, PZ-13-06, a city-initiated rezoning request for property located at 2851 South Tomahawk Road. And Mike?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I have reduced my presentation for tonight and just kind of updating you on what we've done since the last meeting. If there's anything that I don't go over that you'd like me to, just ask. I have the rest of the slides hidden right now. It's a city-initiated rezoning for 2.08 acres. It's at the intersection of Tomahawk and the US 60. P&Z recommended denial of this project by a 4-2 vote. City Council voted to approve the rezoning by a 4-3 vote. This is just the zoning map. It's THPD currently. Plot plan for the elevation. This is the most current one that we've received. This is the most current signage that we've received. One of the conditions of approval was to place the sign in between the poles. I talked about it with the developer. He'd rather have it on top of the poles and just remove the little midsection there.
Actually, on that, the developer informed me and a couple other council members that they'd put any sign we wanted. We could create the sign.
Okay. This is just a sample animation. The way the conditions read, it would change much slower than this 15-second delay. Possible future development, if this goes through, they'd like to purchase the entire parcel and develop it something similar to this concept. Conditions of approval, this is just saying subdivision requirements would be required for this planned development rezoning. The architectural character of the building should be similar to what we see in the elevations that I showed. Building height should be 39 feet, 10 3/4 inches. Sign height should not exceed 30 feet. They were asking for 45, and 35 was discussed during the meeting, and in the final motion, 30 was what was voted on. Sign animation shall be allowed at a 15-second interval. Landscaping requirements, the 25-foot front setback shall be completely landscaped. A 6-foot screen wall or wrought iron fence required along the west property line. I know you guys were talking about taking that off, but it was left out in the final motion, what you voted on. 8-foot fence would not be required on the east property line, and a 3-foot pony wall or berm would be required at the north of the property. All applicable permits need to be applied for. The next land split will be a subdivision. Trellises and climbing vegetation on the north and south faces. This is another one you guys discussed removing, but left it out at the end. Freeway signs shall be reconfigured to fit within the support poles. And the hotel should become a member of the crime-free multi-housing program. Are there any questions? Anything else you'd like me to go over?
Any questions from council? Thank you. Would the applicant or their spokesperson like to address the council? Would the applicant or their spokesperson like to address the council?
Hello, Christy Lane, BHG Development, 43806 West Baker Drive, Maricopa, Arizona. I'm here on behalf of the developer. Any questions specifically that, you have for us? We're more than happy to answer.
Your Honor.
Councilman.
Vice Mayor Eck had indicated that the sign can be completely designed like us. Does that mean the LED can go away? And you'll remove the flashing LED part of the sign?
Below what we'd already talked about, the 15-second piece of it?
From my understanding, what Vice Mayor Eck had said is he received a phone call and other council members, and I wasn't one that received the phone call. And
But we could design the sign ourselves, is what I was told.
And with that design, I'm asking, does that mean we can choose whether or not to have the flashing LED lights? Can
And
those be removed?
just have it permanently, just say the
About
price? Well, the LED portion is what advertises our price, the
Right,
weekly
So you
rate,
take that away and you just put $189 up there?
or whatever
Whatever
the
it
weekly rate might be. Just a static sign. I mean, that's
No
something
LED
that we can
flashing,
do.
nothing, all of it, it's not electronic anymore.
Well, the sign itself has neon tubing.
Right, yeah.
So are you wanting to redesign the whole
Well,
sign?
it sounds like we get to redesign it completely.
Let me help clarify that. When I talked with the developers, they had said that they will build any sign we want. We can design it, whatever we design, whatever we draw, whatever we want, they will build, no matter what.
So my understanding is, and that means that LED sign, if we choose to take it away, would go away. Okay.
Okay.
Donald Rich, BSG, 1400 North Kellogg Drive, Anaheim, California. I talked to you on that, and I misinterpreted that. We need to leave the value place on top. I was talking about how we mount the bottom of it, and we can redesign all that, but we have to leave the standard because that's a franchise sign. We can't change the top. Now, we could change the LED and just have it come on, put the date on there or something like that and not flash it, but we still have to leave that shape. The bottom, I was talking about where we have the black bottom at the bottom, we could incorporate that into the sign, just work with you and the city on that to design that, but we cannot change the franchise shape of the value place.
Okay, the way I understood it is you take that franchise place, put it underneath like a cap, like you would see, like the sign at Signal Butte or several other signs we've seen around the valley since we've taken pictures, and put that below that to where, you wouldn't have the box sticking up on the sign.
That's a possibility of doing that. We just can't get rid of the gable roof and the one below, but that's a possibility of mounting it from the top as opposed to the bottom.
All right.
Yes, that's a possibility.
And the LED?
Put their birdhouse inside them.
Yeah.
Excuse me, could you stand
I'm
closer
sorry.
to the microphone? Thank you.
But as long as we maintain the franchise-shaped sign,
Show them
Some
that
way.
one, Joe.
Yeah. This one right here is what we're talking about. You could put your franchise sign within that peak of the house right there.
yes.
Do something similar to that.
We could plan it on that, yes.
Okay.
We could plan it on that, yes. We could do that.
Mr. Severs, if you could identify that for the record, and maybe have it entered into the record
This is the
with the
Target
city clerk.
Ross sign at the 202 in Gilbert.
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask that that be entered into the record with the city clerk's office in her file in this matter.
No, we'd have no problem with that.
And then you do notice that that sign has no LED anything on it.
Right, we would like to leave, we need to leave something in there to center, it just wouldn't flash, the LED would not flash. This sign, we'd still have the center part, but it wouldn't flash. Is that what you're wanting?
No, I want it gone. The LED gone. Because how are we to control, again, how are we to control whether or not after this is approved, if you put the flashing stuff back up in there again? You may
Well, that's-
say that I won't do it, like I won't have it go less than 15 seconds, but as indicated by staff in earlier conversations, there's no way to monitor that.
Well, I would think if it was agreed to
That's
as
in the development agreement, I would think.
development agreement, I mean, we'd be in violation of the city attorney be after us. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think we couldn't, I mean, we might try it, but you have
We would
rights.
just keep the 200 up, that 189 up there, whatever it is.
Else
It
we'll
would stay
fly.
there, and let's say in 3 years, the price changes, and then
If we can change that, right. We will not have a flashing sign during the day.
So you're proposing to just put the price up there?
Yeah, that's about the only thing we could advertise, yes.
Right, because anything else would then restart a flashing.
The only thing we might, no, it's just hooked up, it'd be the price only, because that's the only thing we'd advertise, yes.
Okay,
But it needs to be in that center, right?
okay.
Okay.
The sign's a huge issue on this one, so, I mean, the sign could make or break the whole project.
You also said that the sign would not flash during the day.
It's on photocell, so it won't be on. It just comes on at night.
Okay, so
It's on photocell, we do not run it during the day. No, it's not on during the day.
the sign's not on during the day.
No, it's just on at night by photocell to save electricity.
So how do you advertise your price during the day?
It would just be permanently on there. It's permanently on there. It permanently
Okay.
stays on just like that. So it might be lit during the day, but you'd have to be able to see it, but it doesn't. The outside doesn't stay on.
Okay, so you're talking that it's not going to be flashing every 15 seconds?
Well, you're talking, we would mount it permanently on a sign. It would be mounted against that, and the rate would be on there permanently where you could see it.
Okay. Can I ask you to come up and take a look at something for me real quick? If I'm not mistaken, when we left on the 5th, you had talked about just lowering this section and taking out that little post that was here? And I think that's kind of how that meeting was left, if I'm not mistaken.
And I agreed to do that.
Yeah, you sure did. You want to put this up?
Mr. Dietz, could you show that to the audience?
Well, that's
so
okay.
Yeah, if you want to bring it up.
This is the sign we had before, and I agreed to post this down here, or I agreed to put the lights straight off of here and not have anything underneath it.
What I remember you agreeing at the end of the meeting is that you would do a sign that would only be approved by the city.
I did, but I did say that, but we still have to keep this part of it in that shape somewhat.
Well, and I suggested that if it comes to that much of an issue, we give you the example of the sign that we want, and then have you create that.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, so I can just kind of explain it. In the original sign, right in through here, there was like a, I'm not sure how long it was, like a, what is that, 2-foot post or a foot post or whatever it is, holding the value place up.
Yes.
Right here.
Can you put
And
that
when
up?
we left our last meeting on the 5th, yeah, let me put that up so the audience can see it. This was the original sign here.
Yes.
And this is the change that you agreed to do at the conclusion of our last meeting that was approved, was just to eliminate this.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought.
Not to me, it wasn't.
Exactly what was said.
No, not in the motion. Not in the motion, it wasn't.
Okay, well
Yeah,
then,
it is.
then I intended to work with the bottom part. I agreed to work, in my mind, I agreed to it, but I will, with like Councilman Inn has, I would be willing to put it on a larger sign, as long as it keeps the shape at the upper top, and not have anything flashing in the center.
We have, our staff has gone out and photographed a lot of signs along freeway corridors. This one on the I-10 corridor for Home Depot has, again, the peak roof type thing that you're looking for. We could put your peak roof right in that one. It would fit in. You'd have your corporate sign, and it would be within the legs of the sign. I believe that would work.
We would agree to this.
On this one here, which is also the I-10 corridor, it would fit in there. I think there are several different things that we could do that would incorporate your sign along with a beautiful, something that the city would accept. And that way you keep your corporate status there, you keep your identity, and we also have a sign that is like that. You'd be agreeable to all of that, right?
I would agree, I would agree to that, as long as we keep the corporate somewhere in there.
Yeah, we're just trying to buffer as much of the corporate out.
Any of these are fine, as long as we keep the corporate, because we can't change the corporate sign.
Sure, but we can buffer around the corporate.
Well, we'll go along with that.
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask that those be entered into the record so we know what this, when he's referring to this, what that means.
Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Councilman.
Another discussion we had about the sign, since we're talking about the sign, is future development in that area. We had discussed, not having maybe 4 or 5 signs within that little area right there, but now allowing him to put the value place up, top, like Councilman Sievers has shown, but then also place the other businesses that are on that area or in that area underneath it, like Councilman Severs is showing. You can put your value place up top, and then underneath you put in who else is in those pads or using those pads, so we don't have 5 different signs in that area. We just have one that displays all of the businesses in that area.
Councilman Sippel, if I may. In the last motion, the motion was that the sign be 30 feet high. The sign that we're looking at right now is 60 feet tall. In order to do what you're suggesting right now, which I absolutely agree with, we're going to have to give him more height. They had originally requested 45-foot height. They can't get very many, I would rather have one 45-foot sign with 10 people's businesses on it than 5 different signs at 30 foot. So just something to consider there.
I would agree to the 45, one sign, 45 feet, and we could shape and put the other businesses in the development would be on that one sign.
Now, Your Honor.
Councilman.
Joel, is that something we can do? We can put it in this agreement for future development has to put their signs in there and cannot come to us to ask for signs? Is that something we can do?
Well, this particular zoning ordinance, you can stipulate to a 45-foot sign, whatever height you want. If other matters came up and there were separate parcels and those were different zoning cases, I think what we'd have to do is refer to this ordinance in those other zoning cases, saying the sign shall be in conformity with ordinance number 1285.
Okay. So we could.
I believe so, unless a sign is allowed outright, whatever the size would be. And I believe, Rudy, it's 12 feet, is that correct? 12 feet tall. So, if another developer came in, they probably don't want to put up a 12-foot sign, 12-foot high sign, so they probably want to go with the 45-foot placement somewhere on that sign.
Okay. Thank you.
Since we have the option on the other 14 acres, we'll be coming back, so I think, we can agree, and as the city attorney says, we would agree to the 45 feet and work with that.
If we were to go with something like that, this sign here has space for 15 different businesses in it, right down on Signal Butte and US 60. It is a 60-foot high sign. So, we will need some exercise, but I think you're going to have, 8 or 9 businesses?
8 or 9, so a 45-foot sign would work, I'm sure. Okay.
Other questions for?
Compared to the Earnhardt sign, it's 80 feet tall, you're talking half of that being seen on the freeway. We allowed that thing to go up to 80 foot. And when you got a big oval, and you see a pole with a big oval, at least one sign and everything in there, that's a lot more conducive.
I have a question.
Councilman.
Does anyone know how tall our current Ford and Horning Hyundai signs are?
The Ford is 80 foot tall.
And the Waffle House and the Super 8 sign? You know how tall those are?
I believe there is 35.
35?
I just wanted to clarify real quick, when you had talked about the static message on just, the dollar amount, if it were to be static, typically it would be the dollar amount and then just weekly rate. So you would have, that would be the static message that would never change.
Yeah, 189 weekly rate.
Yeah.
All on the same screen.
Exactly.
Not changing.
Right.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, because earlier it said just the price, so.
Yeah, right, that's fine.
Okay.
I guess what I meant by that is one thing is going to be up there and only one thing.
Yes.
And then it will only change when the price changes.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any other questions for the developer?
Do you know about how many revisions you've done on this project since you started at planning and zoning to where you are now?
I'd say 5 or 6.
Oh, I was going to say a couple dozen.
I mean, major significant changes.
Probably a couple dozen is right. We've changed the design. I thought the design we had last time here was pretty well acceptable to the...
The last design was it?
Right.
When you first came in, you came in with that kind of white building with the block on the bottom, and that's
We
what...
came up with a Midwest sign that's done in the west like that.
The
right?
sign, and I guess what I was just getting at is I'm curious, because they do take planning and zoning very serious on their recommendations, but I believe we're looking at a different product, a much better product now than what the planning and zoning was looking at back when this was first approached to them.
I agree with you. This is a very attractive blank building. It's the best value place in the system if we go ahead with this one, without a doubt.
Well, let me ask you about that. Is there any kind of amenities for the hotel by way, I know it's going to have kitchenettes because it's extended stay, but is there a weight room?
No.
Or an exercise room? Is
No.
there a swimming pool?
No.
Is there anything for people to do other than cook?
Cook, we have the in-house laundry, they have their own laundry facilities, we have internet, but that's how we keep the cost down. That's the reason we can offer it. I mean, if you do not want a pool, you don't have to pay for it, or we do not give continental breakfast, we do not have exercise. If they want one in the room, you don't do that because they're there. But that's how we keep the cost down. We want it safe and clean, and that's how we are able to reduce the cost, but not have all these amenities that you give away free. Internet is available, but they have to pay $10 or $15 a week for internet, but it's available. But those who do not want internet, that's how they keep the cost down. So that's the premise of how we operate, and it's working. So, it works. So that's how we do it.
Your Honor? Yeah. How about a restaurant?
Pardon?
How about a restaurant?
No, there is no restaurant. There's no other facilities, strictly rooms. We have the guest laundry for the guest. Of course, there's a public restroom, and there's vending machines, but there is no other facilities that we pay for because we do not want the cost that the guests have to bear the cost of a restroom or a lounge or a swimming pool or
There's one, I believe, in Fort Myers, Florida, that advertises for, I believe, $32 a night that has a restaurant in it, value place.
It would not be a value place, I'm sorry.
It will. I don't have the printout with me. I'll get it to you.
Yeah.
Is it value in?
Nope.
There's an in, okay, well, I'm sorry, but, I'd like to see it, but
I meant to bring that, but it is listed as a
that's part
value.
of the Jack DeBoer's thing, that there's no other amenities right now. There may be one adjacent to it, I don't know.
They list it as an amenity to the motel.
Okay. One thing I'd like to mention in your ordinance, we still would like to not have to put the wrought iron fence or the fence between us and the service station, Carl Jr.'s. I still like to do that by heavy landscaping as opposed to have a fence there. And I think we had discussed and talked to the city administration staff about that, but in the last ordinance, that was still left in, and I'd like to have that one item taken out if possible.
I prefer the buffer of plants compared to walls or fences. What's your next proposed business? They're asking about restaurants. You have
Yes.
pads here. What's your next proposed business?
In that layout, we're proposing one or two more hotels that we'd like to bring into you.
Can you put that on the screen, please, sir?
Yes. We're thinking of possibly one or two hotels to the east. Then we're thinking of possibly a fitness center, and then restaurants like an Applebee's or a Mimi's, that type of restaurant, maybe another one, and then maybe a strip one, maybe like a Starbucks that would have a deli next to it, possibly a old mail shop or something like that. You see those quite often in these developments where you have a small strip necessity type of shopping there. And so as when we bring back the full master plan, there's that one area that I'd like to see a really nice restaurant over to the east beyond that Corps of Engineers wash down through there. And you see it where we put the bridge over to it there on the extreme right here, right there, that area. I'd like to see a nice restaurant over there that you drive over to, kind of secluded, and I think it would fit real well, and that's what we're talking to someone on that. So I think we could have a nice exclusive restaurant over there that's head back in landscape.
Your Honor.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Are you going to do this, or are you just going to bring this nice plan with these great ideas that you have for it and get the zoning changed and then sell it off?
As I told you before, Mike, someone lease it from us, and we would build it for them, or we'll work with someone. We're not planning to build them ourselves, but we will develop it and bring it in the plan, and then we'll seek out investors to build the facilities that we're proposing.
The reason I ask is that right there at the Motel 8, or Super 8, from there over to Idaho was great plans and great promises and all these great things, and it's still vacant. Although we did get a Waffle House 4 or 5 years ago, so.
Well, our business is not to hold on land. We want to turn it and move it into, our people can do that.
Well, that's what they came in with this grand house idea and everything to get their motel in, and they got their motel, and nothing else was done. Now, you're coming in with this great plan for this next piece of property to get your motel in, and I don't know if I'm going to see this.
Well,
there's nothing in this ordinance that says you have to come back or you have to do this. You see what I'm saying?
I know that, I realize that, but I think.
And I think we discussed this at the last meeting, too. That you were going to end up selling it off, and if my mind remembers correctly, is that you were going to sell these off.
But I think economics, the hotel is 2 acres. There's 14 more acres, and when you buy 14 more acres at the price we're paying, you cannot afford to sell on it long without developing it.
If I'm not mistaken, you said you were going to sell it off.
That's development. Developing and selling is the same to me.
Which is giving me the same idea.
Yeah, it's to move it.
It's eventually not going to get done.
We want to move it, yes. We want to move the property for these developments, yes.
And with me, if we're going to hold to that, then we need to hold to that citywide. And if that means downtown Main Street and that they have the same idea, then we'll have the same philosophy there. If they don't give us the plan for the whole thing, then we just won't do nothing. Then this is setting the precedence in my mind. And, tax incentives. How much did you ask for tax incentives on this building? It's a $5 million project. Did you ask for tax incentives from the city?
No.
You're the first one. Thank you very much. You're the first one.
No, we do not. Thank you. In fact, we're bringing you money with a TOT, or you call it a different name here. Privilege tax, you call it.
You're bringing in 4.4% on each round, so.
And I meant to talk to you, that's a little bit lower than most of the cities. You need to reconsider that sometime, because we go into cities that are 12, 14%. But that's not for me.
Pretty high taxes, geez.
Is there anything else we need to?
May I read something? This is from the Office of the Governor of the State of Kansas. Greetings, friends. On behalf of the State of Kansas, my pleasure to welcome you in your official opening of the Third Value Place here in Wichita. Most importantly, I'm delighted to join you in recognizing Jack DeBear for celebrating his many accomplishments. Value Place is one of Mr. DeBear's undertakings as a founder of the extended stay concept. Jack has created an industry that has impacted our state and entire nation. He has remained faithful to Kansas as well as he held his company in the headquarters here in Wichita. Jack is deserving of all honors bestowed upon him and is in the only appropriate meet to thank him for all the contribution to the great state. Jack, you have served for more than 40 years in the apartment and hotel industry. Most impressive. You are truly a visionary without comparison. Your leadership and tireless efforts have bolstered Kansas as a leader in the industry. I am grateful for your hard work and dedication. Again, welcome to the official opening to another Jack DeBear successful endeavors. The state of Kansas is proud to have a citizen of your caliber. Best wishes for a successful and memorable event. Sincerely, Catherine Sebelius, Governor of the state of Kansas. Now, this tells me an awful lot about this kind of a business.
That's right.
Your Honor.
I had actually went online and pulled up Value Place, and there's actually only 30 of them open across the United States. And I thought I would call around at a few of the locations to check police calls and things of the area and how they run and look and things like that. And the very first one I called was Wichita, Kansas at 4665 South Broadway, and talked to Sergeant Moore. And he told me that where this is located, it's a little stretch there of low-end extended stay motels, and that they have the highest rate of prostitution, drugs, warrants, burglary calls from that area than any other area. And that's just Wichita, Kansas. which I thought interesting.
Is that just
Since we
the
got that
area?
letter.
Is that the area itself or from the hotel?
No, from the area and
That it's
the
in.
hotel. He personally said that he has had 2 prostitution arrests and a couple of drug arrests at the Value Place Hotel.
Over a certain, did he, in a certain time frame, or, because I know that that's something that is monitored on a daily and regular basis, and I know
Sure
it
is.
comes
You know,
up,
and like I said, I called a few, and there were a couple of them that gave great reviews. They keep it up really nice, they get the average amount of calls, burglaries and things like that, but, you know, they do real well. You had a new one in Columbus, Georgia, that was just opened in July, haven't had any calls at all. And there was one that had 63 calls in the last 6 months. And there, I mean, I can go on and on, but, you know, there were quite a few of them that had an extraordinarily amount of calls out of the 10 of the 30 that I did call.
Your Honor.
And I guess it's going to depend on the location where it's located.
Exactly.
You know, and the ones that seemed to have the most calls on them were located in a kind of lower end part of town or just not the best location. The ones that I had the best results that gave me the most praise were the ones that were located in the most affluence, you know, a nicer area, per se, you know. And where you're going here is right across from Dog Patch. And which is kind of a lower end, and we have an awful lot of police calls and problems out there. And that's kind of frightening me just a little bit. And I just kind of would bring that up. It was a great letter from the governor of Kansas, you know, for the gentleman who started the outfit and everything, but I just thought it funny. The first one I called was Kansas, and they actually, no other prostitution calls except for the one in Kansas. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Let's go ahead and hear from
One other thing in that regard here, we've agreed also to go with the police department program you have for multifamily. We've agreed to go with that, we want to, so, and we want to this area. So I think with us going in there with the 16 acres, we will have a nice upscale area and agreeing to that program, and we want to monitor it. We sure want the best one here.
Well, and I also, just to add to that, I know you comment the area right now is not, you know, the nicest, but all the development and what we're looking at, you know, 5 years down the road with Lost Dutchman Heights and, you know, all the growth and development that's going on all around, that's going to be like in a primary corridor. And you know, we're looking at it as being more upscale within the next couple of years. So, you know, wanting to be part of that and contributing.
Your Honor.
Councilman.
I did the same thing that you did, Rick. Called Value Place in Fort Worth, Texas, to find out they've been open for 3 months and received 0 calls. 0 calls from the police. Memphis, Tennessee. Their hotel is not in a very good area. They've received 9 calls in 3 months. 1 room disturbance, 1 needing a locksmith, 1 heart attack, 2 domestic arguments, no violence, 1 dog in a car, 1 car break-in, and 2 medical calls. I did the same research for Super 8, 1 mile away, that we already have there, that we allowed there. In the last 12 months, they've had 82 calls to Super 8 that is already in our community. The Element is already in our community. The high prostitution calls is in an area where there was high prostitution. This hotel is not going to bring a bad element to us. It's already there. If anything, with them being part of SEPTED, them being part of the crime-free housing, they're going to improve that area. This is a beautiful building now. It'll be the best-looking building in that whole area. How can it make anything any worse? You know, we got calls down there at the Super 8, 1 mile away, for abandoned vehicles, assault, building checks, burglary to vehicles, child neglect, civil matters, disturbances, 2 calls for drugs, 2 family fights, drugs, theft, car theft, warrants, welfare checks. I thought that was pretty interesting that it's already here. So then I did a check to see the difference in something, and just as a comparison. The Best Western right here on Apache Trail is more of an upscale hotel. It's not a low-dollar weekly rate. It's a nightly. It's $119 a night there, I think. And I thought, you know, if I was a criminal and I'm going to break into a car somewhere, am I going to do it in a Ritz-Carlton or am I going to do it in a value place? I'm going to hit the Jaguar, the Mercedes, the BMWs. I'm not going to hit the truck of the working guy who's staying at your hotel. So I did the search over here. They have 25% more vehicle break-ins at Best Western than at Super 8 in the worst area in town. Which one is attracting more crime? The high dollar one. The one where there's better vehicles, more money. 25% more break-ins in the more expensive hotel. You know, that right there, the crime thing is not an issue. It's not an issue. You know, I don't know if you guys know, it's a little bit off the subject. We just had the 7-Eleven. They robbed the person, took 4 hostages, and shoot the clerk in the stomach. Should we not allow 7-Elevens in our community anymore? Or Circle K?
Circle K.
Yeah. I mean, we can't do that. Crime is here. This hotel's not going to fight it. Is it going to add to it? No, it's not.
So, Joe, are you suggesting we just do low-end motels and nothing else?
No, that's not what I'm suggesting at all. I am suggesting that we not deny something because we're afraid of what it might be, when we've got evidence that that's not what it's going to be.
Your Honor.
Councilman?
You know, it's a kind of a viewpoint of glass half empty or glass half full. You know, if we build it, will it increase? Maybe, maybe not. Councilman Dietz showed some things that are going on in certain value places in the same demographics. Councilmember Sievers showed some in different demographics with still the same crime rate. So, you know, that's a decision we have to make. More importantly, the governor, the letter from the governor that Councilman Insulaco chose to read, very good. The governor of that area does not elect me as a council member to serve our citizens. However, there's a letter here that Councilman Insulaco did not read from citizens, 20 of them, in opposition of this hotel. In particular, some that are going to live in the Jacob Ranch area right to the east of this home. So to me, a letter of this nature holds more clout than one from a governor who doesn't elect me at all.
You know, and this is a public hearing, and we'll give, or set for them, and we'll give the public a chance to talk. I guess the only thing that, you know, when we talk about the crime potential and that sort of thing, that's like, well, if you put in this street, we're going to have accidents. Well, yeah, you're going to have accidents on the street, and so, but to me, I look at this and is this the kind of hotel and actually the development that I want to see on what you say is going to be one of the principal corridors down to the state land? And I look at this and it's a building with kitchenettes. I mean, it really has no amenities for people that are going to stay there an extended period of time. And when you start with a budget property, that's what you get. I can tell you that it's not going to be even a Chili's that goes in next to it. Because it'll be a budget development. I mean, that's low-end development. I called the gentleman that sent the letter, Robert Brinton from the Mesa Convention and Visitors Bureau, and he basically told me that they weren't for it or against it, really. He said, but I do want you to know, he says, you know, Value Inn costs about $30,000 a room to put in. He says a Holiday Inn, which is mid-range, costs between $50,000 and $80,000 a room to put in, and it's because of the amenities that go along with it. And that's the thing that I'm looking at and having a problem with is just, you know, is this the kind of development that we want right on this corner? We already have as was mentioned before, a Super 8 down the road, you know, that has vacant land sitting next to it that's been zoned for a long time.
On our master plan, Your Honor, we showed to the east there a more full-service hotel as part of the master plan. I thought that's a hotel, more of a full service that would have the amenities. And like I said earlier, this particular value is they do not want to pay for something that they do not use. They're trying to give them a nice, clean, safe hotel and not have to pay for those. But when we develop the full-service hotel, then it would have more amenities, pool, spa, food, maybe continental breakfast, maybe a Hampton Inn, that type, but it costs more per day.
John? Yeah. I don't know if anyone in this room has ever flown on Southwest Airlines. Okay? They have no in-flight movie, no meals, no first class. They offer the people a choice. I fly Southwest. I don't want to pay $700 to fly to San Diego. I want that cheap, safe, well-maintained flight to San Diego. And this is offering the people a choice. It's giving them the opportunity to stay in a safe, clean environment for a lower dollar. Adding the amenities to it, if they wanted the amenities, they could stay in Gold Canyon. They could stay in Mesa. They could stay at all these other places. They could stay at our Best Western. This is a choice. And this crime thing, the low dollar does not mean no crime. It's a lot of crime. The high dollar does not mean no crime. The amenities does not mean no crime. The developers here have offered to implement a program that we currently don't even have in our city. We do not have the police department involved in our permit process. The SEPTED, if they were to get involved in our permit process right now, more buildings in our community would be built, permitted, allowed in a safer atmosphere. The video surveillance cameras would be a necessity. That's what these people are offering to do. The crime-free housing program, every manager on staff would be trained by the police department to know what to look for, to know who not to rent to. If the people who are in the neighborhood or the people that are going to that neighborhood to commit crimes know that there's video surveillance cameras all over this parking lot, there's security walking around this parking lot, they may not go to that neighborhood anymore. Is this going to fight crime? Is it going to solve crime? No. But it might make them go somewhere else. We don't know. But we can't deny something because it might be here. The crime's already here.
Your Honor.
Councilman?
To correct the point there, Joe, actually there are multiple locations involved with the crime prevention through environmental design program. So it's built into their stipulations. So I might suggest you check the development services, but there's many of them around town.
Which ones?
I don't know them right offhand. We've gone through planning and zoning with them and through the council, and that's part of the stipulation.
We currently have no hotels or motels involved in this program.
No, you said there were no buildings, no developments involved, and that's incorrect.
Where the police force are actually involved in the permit process.
I just wanted to clarify that we do have developments that are involved in this part of the program.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your Honor,
Yeah, Councilman.
we were also elected by the citizens to make sure that we provide police protection, public works, library, all the other things that they enjoy and that they need and they want. That all comes from sales tax. If we keep destroying people who come in, who want to bring development, who's going to bring sales tax money in here, we're not doing our job. We're doing our job being selfish. I don't like this, I don't like that. What does the public want? They want all the service that they're getting. If we don't have the tax money coming in to do it, they're not going to get these. Also, with the new development coming in downtown, if and when that ever comes, how many businesses are we losing when those leases are up and they're gone? How many of these small mom and pop stores and whatever are going to be gone that there's no tax money coming in till we wait till some other big development that's going to take 5 to 10 years to get in? Where does that tax money come from? That's all we live on. So, we should be thinking more as a whole, what is best for the community as a whole? Not for one group of people, but the whole city.
We're going to explain Lane Lawson. I don't want to only explain laying off people in July because we don't have the budget to pay our people. We've gone through the lack of police. We've gone through the lack of staff, and I don't want to do it again. We need new money, new people, new businesses to survive in this community.
When did we lay people off?
Yeah, Your Honor.
I've been on this council 9 years and haven't
You
let
know,
anybody off.
I mean, I think we're getting way off track a little bit, but, you know, I guess in talking with Mr. Britton, he made a comment that really stuck with me, and that was, he said, people mistake new development for quality development. And he said that they actually have found that if it's not true quality, it tends to, even if it's new, it'll tend to deteriorate the area. People will move there simply because of the low cost. We talk about it being a hotel, but it's an extended stay hotel. And that concerns me a little bit. And like I say, there's no amenities. Low-end hotels usually do not have the security that high-end hotels do because they're trying to cut down on costs. So they rely on the police department rather than security officers. I mean, that's just the way it is. And as I look at it, does this have the amenities that I want to see there? And I'm just having a difficult time trying to tell myself what it does.
Your Honor, from the security perspective, real quick, I wanted to address that. There are 8 security cameras throughout the facility covering, or interior, I should say, covering all exterior doors, the corridors, the stairwells, and those are all monitored in the front office. So, I mean, any exterior entrance or way in or out of the hotel is monitored by digital security cameras, time, date stamped on, and all of that. And from a quality perspective, in a way, I mean, looking at the elevation that we've come up with here, I mean, that looks like a very nice building. It's, you know, maybe I'm biased, but it comes across as being a very nice-looking building, and I know we build quality into, you know, whatever we build. So I struggle a little bit, you know, with those comments. And I don't, in comparison, we've talked about the Super 8 or some of the other, you know, buildings, architecture that we've seen, and this looks pretty upscale to me compared to, you know, even maybe what's on the corner right now, next to us, the convenience store and what it used to be, Carl's Jr. or Burger King, which isn't there anymore. There's nothing there right now.
And I understand that they're improving. They're remodeling it. They're assuming that this may come, and they're remodeling. They want the store to be better.
They're putting the Carl's Jr.
They want to attract
Carl's
better
Jr.
class of people.
Okay.
One other item, Your Honor, you mentioned the cost. We're spending, on this particular 2 acres, $6.7 million. And divide that by 121 units, we're spending $55,000 per unit for this property, not 30. We're actually spending $55,000, $6.7 million for this 2 acres for the land and all the development. So that's what we're actually spending, 55, divided by head, 55,000 per unit. So that's not low.
Okay. You know, they're up Main Street, which isn't even on the freeway. They're tearing down that old, where the Belle de Rose used to be, and they're putting in a Holiday Inn. And he was reading me out of a trade listing that the Convention and Visitors Bureau has, and he was reading me the average figures. I'm sure it's not the same in California if you were to build one there as it is here or anywhere else, but it was to give you an idea of the differences in amenities and things that are offered, and that was my point.
Oh, yes, I appreciate that, but actual cost per unit, that's what we actually are in. I know exactly where we are in the numbers, and it's $6.7 million for this particular 2 acres, not the other 14, but just this, when we're all said and done, from where we are right now till we get it open, that's what we'll have invested, $6.7 million.
Okay. Is there any questions from council for that?
I have to say one thing, Your Honor, and that's on a comment that we got from Nathan Mason and the neighbors Chris was talking about. And of course, that's who we're here is to service our citizens. But many of the issues on this letter have been resolved. You know, the lead flashing sign, and I think a lot of the sexual predator, offender, undocumented worker, illegal alien thing. The fact that growth will be here in 2 years, and I think it's probably going to be more like 5 years. The fact that P&Z turned it down. But what did P&Z turn down in comparison to what we're discussing now, I think, is two different projects. Because I think we're trying to create something that is going to reflect on that area.
I agree. Aesthetically, this is a different project.
Yeah.
Amenity-wise, I don't know that it is.
Yeah. I said first name on there is Richard Tamarone. I'm looking for Richard. Say, hey, do you realize what you're signing there, Richard? Because it's a good friend of mine. I'm a customer of Nathan's. He's a businessman. I don't know that we're talking apples to apples and oranges to oranges at this point. I think we have a much better product now. So.
Okay, thank you. Like, this is a public hearing, and I'll open it up to the public at this time. I have received one request to speak form, and I'll take her first. Margaret Taylor Webb.
I had a request, but I was told we didn't turn them in.
Oh, you don't have to.
I had one filled out, and I was going to turn it in and be the first one to turn it in, but I was told we didn't have to.
You can come up next. Margaret Taylor Webb.
Your Honor, Mayor Coleman and members of the City Council, my name is Margaret Taylor Webb, and I'm here to speak in strong opposition to this proposed development. My property abuts the subject property just to the north. I'm right across the street from what we lovingly call Dogpatch. Firstly, this type of facility has caused much grief in other cities, possibly contrary to the information you have been given. They become a haven for drug users and dealers, prostitutes, and an undesirable element of society. I have two mobile home parks who both have crime-free programs in place. There are lots of holes in these programs. They sound good, they look good on paper, but there's still a lot of trouble. There's no guarantee that that's going to work. Two things that I've not heard mentioned here, which are required, or at least they were required for me when I put them in my mobile home parks. Credit checks are a necessity for every single person who enters. And also deposits. I don't see this happening in this type of facility. In other words, anyone who has the cash is acceptable.
That's not correct.
No, it's not true.
Whoa.
Hey, it's a public hearing.
It's a public hearing.
Sorry.
I'm just asking a question about what the crime-free addendum is going to do when those are requirements. How is this going to be handled at this hotel? How can it be handled? I have questions about that, big questions. I would think, with all the police calls and trouble, which we have had just to the west, in other words, Dogpatch, of us, we would be careful about exposing ourselves to even more of this. Why do we want to invite more? Of course we know crime is here. We all know that. There's probably not a person in this room that has not been touched in some way by crime. I have. I've had embezzlement. I've had theft. I've had a manager that had to tote a gun for 60 days because of what was going on. So, of course, we do have crime. I'm in complete agreement with Councilman Sipple. With this explosive growth in Pinal County, you can do better than this. I am pro-development, and I'm far more interested in upgrading this area, not contributing to further problems. I believe Apache Junction's time has come, and you have a promising future. I've been here for 20 years, and I'm amazed at what has happened here, and I am so impressed with this building and this campus. I'm just knocked over by it. The city of Surprise has grown far faster than you. You ought to see their facilities. They look like Dogpatch compared to you. I think you do have a promising future. You are representatives of the residents of this community, and you need to think long and hard about what you allow to come in here. To quote my grandmother, chickens always come home to roost. And I plead with you to look beyond the dollar signs and don't sell out for a facility of this caliber. Wait for a better deal, one that will upgrade this community and not downgrade it. I too recognize the need for more businesses and tax money, and I'm positive it will come. But inviting trouble and spending those dollars gained to clean up the results is a poor business decision. And I certainly cannot buy into the idea that Apache Junction is in danger of becoming a ghost town. Nothing could be farther than the truth. Thank you.
Thank you.
900 North San Marcos, Lot 35, Apache Junction, Arizona. I was a national security agency analyst. I've analyzed things for the president on down, private industry, you name it. And of course, I've analyzed crime. I'm going to address that first since it seems to be one of the major concerns here. I also joined the ministry about 26 years ago. I put a ministry house in about Camelback and 19th Avenue. Neighbors were afraid we were going to attract the wrong element. We had 16 youth running from about 15 years old to 17 years old, kids who had attacked their family, tried to commit suicide, got involved in drugs, you name it, gangbangers, bad element. But you see, they had to make a decision before they came to our house, a decision to get a new life, to straighten out. We got harassed by our neighbors who were afraid we were going to bring in bad element. They were afraid of us. We finally said, the heck with it, it's too much harassment. But at least 16 kids went home to their families, never again having another incident. Never again turning to drugs, and every last one of them graduated with A's and B's. And they're solid citizens today. Don't let fear drive the best thing you've ever seen down the road. It's a bad choice. It's a bad emotion to make a decision out of. Being an analyst, I can tell you what will happen on the economic side. Right now, I've got 2 sons and a daughter. I live in an RV in a mobile home park, too small to have them stay with me. They stay in Gilbert, Tempe, Mesa, Scottsdale, at the cheapest place they can find. Less money to spend, and 90% of what would be spent here is spent over there. Dinners, lunches, you name it. I drive over there. I'd rather not. I don't like going into that traffic. If they stayed at a place like this, it's an easy shot going down there. We're going to eat at the restaurants here. Why do you need a restaurant there? While this place is developing, restaurants here are thriving, and guess who goes and buys the new place? The thriving business here. We have fitness centers here. My son's a fitness buff. He goes to the fitness centers over there. Fitness centers here, you'll get more business. You don't need the amenities here. This is perfectly designed to help us grow at our present rate of growth and our present state of development. Let's all grow together. There's no guarantees in life. You want that? You live on the wrong life. This would be good for jobs, for businesses that are here now to grow and get one of those new places. If this outfit wants to sell it, they got a marketing team. I've done marketing research and development. Their marketing team is going to get together with every fitness outfit around here and let them know what's over there for them as soon as they get to the point where they can afford it, if they'd like it, and that they'll help them get into it. That's part of marketing. Going to do the same thing for restaurants, etc. They're buying this, they want to make their money, they're going to make it grow, they're going to push it, because it's in their interest, and in this case, it's in our interest too. And to everyone, I'd like to say, calm down, because another thing we did, by the way, when I was in NSA, we had a bad area that we were going to help people out with, because number one, it was too close to some of our stuff. So we found the names of the drug dealers and these people, and we had our guys find out what those guys like to drink, etc. And then a uniformed officer goes up and takes Charlie his favorite coffee or his favorite soda. Hey, Charlie, how's it going? Just wanted to make sure you have something to drink here. Sit there and chat with him nice and friendly for a little while. They don't like their friends and clientele seeing them rubbing elbows with the law. Within 30 days, the problem was gone. Some of the guys around here could do the same thing. Openly visit and converse with some of these guys like they're good old buddies, and watch how fast they get out of Dodge. Because they're paranoid. They don't want their buddies putting a target on their back. It's a good way to drive them out. There's a lot of real simple solutions here. So work together, find them. You could make the training that was talked about with the law and all that part of your conditional approval. Each manager has to take that training. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. You don't need to have filled out a form in order to speak. But we do need your name and address for the record.
Again? John Kentowski, 835 Windsong Street, Apache Junction, Arizona, 85220. As again, wow, what a change from the December 5th meeting as far as I'm concerned, from sitting over there. We went from a 45 to a 30 back to a 45. We're selling it off. I'm going to develop it. I'm not sure what these guys know, if they're going to do, if they're just going to build a hotel or what. Okay? I agree with the mayor. If you can't go by fear or anything else, because if you want streets, you're going to have accidents. But we also put safeguards in when we bring those streets. Dogpatch is a high crime area. You're going to put something down that I told you before that I have actually personally stayed in, not a value hotel, but hotels like this. You're going to put it down there, you're going to throw gasoline on the fire again. Okay? If you're going to have crime there, you're going to bring crime in. You don't put crime where you could bring crime in a crime area. You have 1,038 acres that was just sold, and yeah, it's going to be developed within the next 5 to 10 years. They're going to be opening up in 2 years. You've got a corridor down 60. They're very adamant about their corporate sign, how they want it to keep the shape in that. And I'm sure that if the other two hotels are in there are going to be a Holiday Inn or a Marriott, so they're going to want to put their sign underneath that. They're going to change their corporate logos too to put it in that sign. So you're going to have another sign issue and other problems when they come out if they develop that area and if they sell it off. Again, no vested interest in this, but I think we can also do better than that right now too. You're selling off some. You're going to vote on some of the best property that's along Route 60, so that when we do start expanding to the south, and I keep hearing about Mesa with their stuff, Mesa's too blocked. They have to sell for the best that they can. All right, they're too blocked with it all over the place with their building. We're not. We have the whole south to build on, and that corridor going down 60 is going to be your advertising place. When you're coming from out of state or going down the line here, and you're going to come past Apache Junction, you're going to see Value Motels, Super 8, all these low-class motels, and you're going to go to Mesa and see the Marriotts and the Holiday Inns, and you're going to go to Gold Canyon and see all the rest of them. They're going to go so straight past it. Your 4.2% is going to go back down the other way. So I think you should hold out for a better class hotel or whatever this area is going to be, because it's prime corridor location. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on this issue? Let's go there and then back there.
Mayor and Council, Mike Weller, 471 West 21 Avenue, Apache Junction. I've been in town about 7 years, and anything I've ever seen from planning and zoning and from council has been anti-business. We need a tax base. These people are paying entirely too much in taxes. have a residence hotel instead of a trailer park seems to be a plus. Councilman Dietz, I live in Apache Junction, and I take offense at any part of this town being called Dog Patch. Instead of our police force rounding up Fry's shopping carts, they ought to be down there doing their damn job.
Well, it would be nice if that area was within the city and we might have a little bit more control of it.
Okay.
But since it is the county and they don't want to annex into the city, our hands are tied as far as our police department.
You're the one that called the Dog Patch, sir.
I did.
Otis Latta, 3753 South Wickiup, Apache Junction, 85219. Mayor, Councilman, I appreciate you guys bringing this back to the board. I'm not sure who's the person who actually brought this back. Was it you, Councilman Dietz, that wanted to bring this back? I really, really am grateful for the fact that you were able to rethink and really see that this may be something that needs to be relooked at and revoted on, because of the fact that I bought a home about 5 years ago, going on 6, just south of the freeway. And my biggest dream is to be able to raise my family here in Apache Junction. I grew up off of Power and Brown and really, really looked at the Superstition Mountains all the time and just really fascinated about the fact that, geez, that's where I want to live and grow up. I really think that Apache Junction is coming into a new era right now, knowing that $58 million in land was just purchased just south of the baseline. There's a lot of hope, there's a lot of opportunity there for big business, small business, residential, communities, just a lot of good things are going to be happening down there. And I see that this is a short-term objective to get a quick buck in terms of sales tax. I think Apache Junction can definitely do better. I honestly think that we can step up and invite better quality businesses that are going to generate sales tax for the long term and not for the short term. One of the things that I'd like to commend all of you guys on in terms of getting this developer to step up the aesthetics, the look, the quality of the appearance. Why not do that for businesses? If you guys were able to do that in terms of having this developer step up the appearance of it, let's step up in terms of saying, hey, let's get quality businesses in here that are going to be more competitive for cities like Mesa, cities like Queen Creek. Queen Creek is definitely going to be a strong competitor. And I know for a fact they're not going to be looking at this saying, hey, let's try to make a short-term sales tax generation here. Let's look for the long term. Another fact that I think somebody brought up, it's not about fear. It's really about taking a look at what we can become better in terms of a community and not just looking at saying, okay, this is something that we really can make some money off of instead of trying to do something. I feel like you guys are really looking at this and trying to do something for our community in terms of generating sales tax. And I really appreciate that, but at the same time, we got to look at the long-term factors of what this can do. And, you know, living just south of this area, I've seen quite a bit of activity that has not been very, very good. And I think that if we really hold out, don't sell out, but hold out and require businesses to come up and that are going to really add to our community and not deter growth, I really feel like there's a great hope here for Apache Junction. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Raina Palmer, CEO of Apache Junction Chamber of Commerce, Apache Junction Visitor Center. I've had several comments made to me over the last couple of weeks regarding this issue, and I just felt that I would like to share with you a few facts. I think in many dynamics, sometimes the understanding of demographics and how demographics work for economic development are not understood by a lot of us, and it's taken me a lot of years to grasp what demographics really mean. But what I would like to share with you is not for or against this project, just to give you a little bit of information. The current population of Apache Junction is at about 40,000. Our expanded population October to April is 35,000. Gold Canyon, Peralta add another 25,000 in population to that mix. We're looking at a population of about 100,000 people during 6 months out of the year, and only a little bit less during the other 6 months. Apache Junction currently has 100 motel rooms. That's it. We've got a population of 100,000 people, and we have 100 motel rooms to serve that interest. Right now, Apache Junction has Super 8 at 60 rooms, and the Best Western in downtown, 40 rooms. Gold Canyon Golf Resort has 86 rooms, and Best Western, 68. Brings the total for the entire area up to 254 rooms. I also would like to include in that potential of residents using the area is the Santan Johnson Ranch area. There are no amenities in that area either, so they're going to come up Ironwood. The average cost during the season is $100 a night. That ranges from $87 up to $119. In Apache Junction, the rooms have been 95% occupied since the 1st of October. That does not leave any nightly rooms for us to take advantage of the opportunity to have our relatives staying near us, to have the many other people that come into this area passing through staying. But it's kind of an odd figure is the Gold Canyon rooms on the other side, same price, are 40 to 50% occupied on a regular basis. The nearest rooms are of any quality are, and we're even just talking what some of the quality inns in Mesa. The dynamic of our visitation in Apache Junction, we have about 30,000 people coming through our visitor center a year. The daily requests for 1 night, 2 night stays, we have to send them to Mesa because our motels are full. We receive 3 to 5 requests per week for extended stay facilities, short-term apartments, and hotels that have long-term. We lost the Grand Hotel, and we had some weekly rate rooms. We had a whole back section that were short-term apartments. We've lost those. We turn away approximately 200 visitors per year that would be staying in this area. That does not, the 3 to 5 per week that we have documented does not include those requests made for short-term extended stay, what we call them, does not include the website-generated information. The visitors that come to our visitor center, above and beyond new residents asking for community information, are families visiting mom and dad and grandpa and grandpa. They are on a budget. They are retirees, they are visiting with friends, they are probably retirees themselves, or they are checking out the area to come and live here. We have special events, the Marathon, LPGA, the Renaissance Festival, Country Thunder, Lost Dutchman Days, week-long events that need people to stay here. And we also have a lot of short-term construction workers that need facilities. Our motel rooms are booked with only 100 rooms available. We are trying to establish destination tourism packets. Our struggle with that is that we have no rooms to market and we now have no transportation to share as well. The economic impact to our city, current potential for 100 rooms is right now at about $100,000 a year. That's what sales tax is generated from the motel rooms. And the dynamic is that that business does pay for what is in this community, and sales tax is how we generate it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council?
My name is Hal Cochran. I own 2/3 of this property, which I'm sure most of you know. The other third was owned by Mr. Pilger. Unfortunately, he died last year, and he has a son and a couple of daughters that are one in California and a couple of them here. We've had this property for almost 30 years. I had several opportunities to have made this into a mobile home park adjacent to the one on our north several times. But when the freeway was coming through, I decided that the best use and the highest use was going to be commercial. And I think I'm right. It's happened. And when they came out with the first layouts for the freeway, they showed the Tomahawk corner to be reserved for that purpose. So I honored that. And about 6 years ago, we were able to sell off a little over 2 acres for the gas station, the Burger King, which is now being converted to Carl's Jr., which I think is great. And when the opportunity came up for this program, about 6 months ago, and I'm sure that they ran some of this through the P&Z people before they ever came to meet, but it was, I believe, about last July. And we talked about breaking off 80,000 square feet for the hotel. Well, I've been around here for a lot of years. I'm 81 years old. I watched Apache Junction grow up. I came through here when it was a Blakely station and a reptile zoo. And one thing I haven't heard tonight in all the conversations, what about the good people that come here every year, look for a good place to stay, and they're people on Social Security. They don't have a fortune. They can't pay $100 a night for a month. But if they could pay a couple $100 a month to get a nice place where they could cook, I don't think they care about swimming pools and exercise yards. A lot of them are rock hounds. They go out hiking to do that. I had a trailer park, and I know what that was all about. Because I started one of those when it was only $3 a night. So I really got excited, and I thought, what a wonderful thing for the junction, for that corner, so that there would be a good-looking hotel. And I don't see anything wrong with the looks of it. Sure, it'd be great if it had a swimming pool, I suppose, and exercise rooms. But for other visitors coming here, I don't think you find that many of them that are really excited about those facilities. I know I don't look for them when I'm traveling. I could care less. And I've done my share of running back and forth to Michigan. And I've stayed in a lot of hotels back there. And not all of your overnights are going to have the same amenities that you're talking about. So what do we replace this with? And how long is it going to take? I've had it 30 years. I really don't want to own it another 30 years. I don't think I'll see that far. So I really think that your consideration has to be the thought of the people that come to the junction. You know, they're average people. They're not people that can afford this $100, $125 a night hotels. And what they really need, and I think the chamber numbers here, I've never heard those before tonight, but that supports my thoughts. Over all the years I've been here, and all the time I've dealt with the people in the junction, they've been good people, they're average people, they're not crime people. Let's get off of this crime kick, and let's talk about the good we can do instead of worrying about fighting crime. Let's correct the sign, and let's make this thing go so that it helps the junction and helps our visitors. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to?
Your Honor, Counsel, this is Jason Levesque. I live at 8830 South 20th Place, Phoenix, Arizona, and I am the owner of the soon-to-be Carl's Jr. and Bill's Ghost convenience store. I was asked to be here because we are upgrading that facility. We bought it from the gentleman that owned the, I think it was a Texaco once upon a time, it's 76 station in Burger King. The convenience store, our brand of convenience store, we have one in Cave Creek, is a very upscale, I would say an AJ's version of a convenience store. Extensive line list, much more upscale convenience store that we are building currently. Will be done by the end of January. And then converting the Burger King to a Carl's Jr., which I'm biased having 51 Carl's Jr.'s in the state of Arizona, that we think we're the premier fast food in the state of Arizona. So we're not concerned that this is going to downgrade that area. We certainly wouldn't be spending this money or doing this if we thought that that was going to hurt us. But my comments, I'm not a resident of Apache Junction, although I have a great amount of respect for the city and its residents, but people of all income levels deserve options and places they can be able to stay. I have Carl's Jr.'s in Scottsdale. I have Carl's Jr.'s in very bad areas of Phoenix. I don't consider myself responsible for the crime that happens there. We do a lot. I spend tens of thousands of dollars a year on security, off-duty police officers. I can't get the service I always want out of the police on duty. I have to hire them off-duty in order to protect my customers and my business in those communities. We're just as concerned, none of us, for me, I know when I'm in those communities, it costs me money if there's vandalism and all that. I don't want crime. That doesn't benefit my business at any level, and all of my customers deserve to be safe at any level. I think you've done the right things. You've put light on it, you've exposed and tried to protect the people that can't afford to stay in a place like this. But there are economy hotels next to our restaurants in the best areas of town and the worst areas of town. And you've done the right things, I think, which is you've got cameras, you've got lighting, you've got those kinds of things. But we're investing. We're glad to be here, and we have no opposition to this. I think it would actually be a good thing for our area and hopefully for you. But my experience certainly has been that this hotel is not going to hurt us. It would help us, not just my business, but in your city and the residents that can, and the people that need that type of service. You know, we provide food to people that are looking for our product, and they're providing rooms to people that are looking for that room. So they deserve options too. So anyways, thank you for your time. Have a good.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council?
Evening, Your Honor. My name's Sam Conlon, reside at 920 East Estevan Avenue here in Apache Junction. Another element of the population you're all forgetting is I think you were once all 20, 25 years old. You remember getting out of college when you were looking for places to live, possibly move away from mom and dad. You wanted to go check out places. You know, you didn't have that much money to spend, but you wanted to stay for a week at a time, look at things. We've got the beautiful Superstition Mountains here. We have potential for work with 2 hospitals being built down the street, and you're forgetting about that. I have a friend that's a traveling surgical tech. He travels around the countryside for months at a time, staying in certain areas just to work at them hospitals, check out the location, and move on. Well, if these people don't have that opportunity to stay in this community and see what we have here to offer, you're not going to sell houses. You're not going to sell food at the restaurants. You need to sell houses. You need to bring people here. If they have nowhere that they can stay, if they got to go to Mesa, nobody wants to be in that congested area right now. Maybe it's going to be here someday, but right now it's just beautiful. The point at Tapatio Cliffs, you got the point in Ahwatukee. There could be a point at Superstition Mountain too, but until they do their studies and they see that the people are coming to this community to attract those larger businesses, those larger motels, they're not going to waste their time here. I mean, they got that stuff in Paradise Valley. They got it in Ahwatukee. They got it in Scottsdale, wherever else they have it. They're not going to come here until they see the focus groups, until they see that them hospitals are getting built up. They see the nurses that have places to stay. Surgical techs have places to stay to work at those facilities that are getting built. My wife's got to travel to Mesa because there's no jobs around here. I mean, we got to have the people to bring the businesses to create the jobs. If we don't have the people, I mean, granted, I don't know, what is it, 30,000 people come here for months at a time? Well, most of them people are probably on a limited income. They spend quite a bit of money, but if you have more people living here, they're going to be spending more money. I'd rather shop here. We don't have a Sam's Club. We don't have a Price Club. We don't have any of the big stores here. I got to go to another place. You know, it's just, there's an element that you're forgetting. When you were out of college, you didn't have a lot of money to spend, and you couldn't go to them points and stay for any long time in the upper dollar areas. It provides a service for the people that don't have much, that are trying to build on a family, you know, that don't have families yet but would like to have one and trying to save money. You can't have the amenities at places like that because you can't afford to stay at them places and work at a hospital making, you know, $12, $13, $14 an hour fresh out of college. You got to pay your college off, your bills and everything like that. You're not just, and those people that are looking at them high dollar areas, they already are comfortable somewhere. They're not looking at the community to buy and purchase and stay in that community and add to it. They're just looking for the quick fix, like a drug dealer. You know, they come in, they have their good time, they spend a little bit of money at that high-dollar hotel, and they leave. Maybe they come back, maybe they don't. You want them to be able to stay here, to keep that money here, to keep the people here, to get the word out that was a great place to stay. You've got the beautiful mountains, and that's actually the only thing that's here to attract people is the beautiful mountains that we have. We need more things out here to attract people, something unique. And being that it's the first one in Arizona, I don't know if that's necessarily going to attract any tourists or anything like that, but it gives people the ability to stay here, those extra 100 rooms, 100 people to check out our area, to see if they want to buy a house here, to move here, and to live and raise their kids, and to have the hiking trails, and have the beautiful horses, the horse privileges, and hopefully the PRA rodeo will move in down here at the rodeo grounds. Hopefully we can get that happening before Gold Canyon gets theirs out there. And, you know, has the rodeo grounds out there. But anyway, I see it as a good deal, and you got to start someplace. And you can't expect the amenities to be there for the hard-working people that are scraping by to make a living. You got to take them into consideration, too, the people that don't have money to throw away. Anyway, thank you all for your time.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Yes.
Janine Bodell, 1759 East Barnacle Avenue, Apache Junction, Arizona, 85219. Just one thing real quick that's been on my mind. All of my family lives out of state. All of my husband's family lives out of state. And several times throughout the year they come to visit us. And in the past couple of years they have stopped to stay at the Super 8. They no longer wish to stay there because of not feeling safe, run down, not a very nice place to stay, and head into Mesa. It would be very nice to have something closer here that is nice. I don't feel that this building has, my kids actually like to go and swim with Grandma and Grandpa when they come and do things at the hotel, and I don't think that this building value stay would give my family that opportunity to have you know, when people come to visit, I just don't think it's, a lot of times they say, don't you have a Hampton Inn, don't you have a Marriott, something nicer? This is just going to be another Super 8 run down 5 years from now. So I would hope that you would look to the future a little more and pick something of a little higher quality than this value place. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council?
Hi, I'm Jeff Sordi. I live at 741 East Kachina. And I want to agree with all the people that are pro-business. I own a business, and my lease was just up, and I'm 40 yards on the other side of the county line because Apache Junction's not traditionally been that pro-business. Everything is shifting down towards the freeway. The project that you're going to try to get downtown, a lot of the local people will avoid that. The growth is going to be down at the interstate, at the freeway exits. And something has to start there first. When my lease is up in 5 years, if there's a plaza started there with an Applebee's, a hotel, whatever, I might move my business there. As of right now, no way, because you know, there's nothing there. And I haven't heard any of you saying that the Hilton or anybody is waiting to come here. I have friends that live in Phoenix, and they start mentioning these places. Have you ever? I say, no, I don't really ever go past Power Road because we have everything we need at Power Road. I would like to say someday, I don't ever go past Meridian because we have everything we need here, you know. And I would like to get, and it has to start somewhere. And so far, it hasn't. You know, you've got a lot of places that thought something was going to start there, like at Florence Junction, and that one convenience store is just dead over there. There was a place called Arizona City that had a whole project that was going to start. It never started. And those were my main thoughts. But as for the prostitution thing and being low class, I watch on the news. There's more prostitution busts in Scottsdale than there is in the other cities, and that's what you guys would call affluent. So I think the more that would grow here You know, it would bring this area that you're calling Dog Patch, it would bring it up, and maybe it would chase those people out of there, and people would want to live in that area, so that's what I have to say.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council?
Yes, one question there. Guys, ask around, please. John Kowalski. On this crime-free program for mobile homes and apartment buildings, which I consider this apartment building, just like Mr. Waldron did at the last council meeting, I don't think this is a hotel. Once they enter this, are they locked into this permanently, or in a year from now, can they say, too expensive, we don't want to raise the rates up to $250, I'm dropping out of this program because I got too much to keep up with it. Are they locked into it for a certain amount of time, or are they just basically can get out anytime they want to? Because I know I see a lot of mobile home parks are locked into this crime-free program and stuff, and, sometimes it could get to be a cost.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Kantowski, if the provision or stipulation is that the developer be part of the crime-free housing program, then they would have to stay in the crime-free housing program as long as the stipulation is in the ordinance. They could try to get the ordinance amended at a later date.
And if they're not, if they don't, for some reason, whatever, and they don't have the ordinance changed, do they pull their license? Do they lose their license with the city? What happens to that?
Mr. Kantowski, that would be a zoning stipulation that's not being abided by, and the city could actually try to get an injunction against them from operating until they comply with the ordinance.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Is there any further questions or comments from members of the council?
Your Honor.
Councilman.
To address Mrs. Webb's question, I understand that everyone who does check into this hotel has to have photo ID, a driver's license, a credit card, and does have to put down a deposit. Every single week they have to present those things and put down a deposit. I'm not sure if they do credit checks. Okay.
Your Honor, we cannot pick up anybody that's speaking from the audience.
Okay. Mr. Kantowski, you had mentioned, we should put in a higher class hotel there.
No, I would say we should put in a higher class
Hey, let's, if you would, I already closed it to the public.
I'm sorry.
Don't ask questions to the public.
No, I'm just saying a better class hotel like Best Western. I've got the crime reports for the Best Western, 25% worse than the Super 8 on there. You'd like for us to pick, a better class, pick something better. We don't have the opportunity to pick. It's not like we're going out and finding, hey, Marriott, come over here and build here. That's not the case. All we can do is pick, do we allow this or do we sit on it for 5 to 7 years until anything happens south of the freeway? We can't say. What could happen in 5 to 7 years? This land is not the corridor to our new land in the south. You get off the freeway, make a right, and you run into the dump, the landfill. That is not the gateway to our new land to the south of us. It's the dump. The gateway is Idaho and Ironwood. This property is not going to get anything better. Nothing that we see, nothing that has ever come up. In how many years? 30 years? Nothing has ever come up as good as this. We can't pick something better.
Any other comments? Vice Mayor?
Well, I definitely think we're in a better position now that we've had a freeway and we've had growth than we were 20 years ago. But, I honestly, I see this project as filling a need, that there's a real need for projects like this. We need more, kind of like what was presented from Chamber and Main Street representative. We need more long-stay motels, and I don't see it. I guess people are seeing this as some eyesore, and 5 years from now it's going to be, run down and looking awful and everything. It's the same type of construction you would see, four-sided development that we would we would look for design review. We went beyond and over and above the design review we have for the city on this building, with the slope tile roofs and such, and the Santa Fe look. One thing I've heard, 10 years I'm going on, 9.5 years I've been on the council, and I've heard we need more rooftops. We got to have rooftops to bring in the nice business, to get the Costco's and the Sound Clubs and everything. We need places for people to stay. They've got to live here. And to me, this is a rooftop. And I did not, Mr. Otis was concerned about, raising your family here. And I got to be honest with you, my daughter is purchasing a house in the subdivision, the first subdivision south of the freeway on Tomahawk. And I assume that's where my grandkids are going to be raised. And I honestly do not look at this project as something threatening those neighborhoods. I certainly, do have a personal interest in it, having an area where my daughter's going to be living. The one thing, and you said about a short-term objective, I think it's easy to say that now, but realistically, I think folks forget that this property was zoned county TH, trailer home site. And Mr. Cochran could have built this trailer park 30 years ago, and we'd have a trailer park there now, and we wouldn't be arguing. We would just see more trailer roofs, and that would be the end of it. We wouldn't have an opportunity for any commercial there. And I look at this building as a catalyst. We keep saying there's no amenities there, there's no amenities there. But there's a Carl Jr. building very nearby with a convenience store, and how quick is a restaurant? How quick will there be a need for a restaurant in that area if there are no other amenities? So we're bringing the people, we're doing what I've always been told. We've got to have the rooftops first in order to bring the business. And that's the way I look at it. And I really feel like that Ms. Webb, you got up and spoke about the problems areas, but I believe that your park, 2605 South Tomahawk, is in the county. I don't believe you're in the city limits whatsoever. And like your park, Mr. Cochran could have had his park wrapped around yours, and it could have been that way for 2 or 3 decades now. So a lot of your concerns, I got to tell you, they're not city concerns, they're county concerns, and it's part of the location of your park being in the county there. You've got a property owner, 3-sided county property owner, who's bringing in a $5.5 million project. To me, that's a catalyst. That's something that's going to hopefully create this area into something better.
Any other comments, sir?
Mr. Mayor, before any votes made, I couldn't anticipate exactly what was going to happen tonight, so I gave you a bunch of options. Option A essentially rescinds the December 5th ordinance or December 5th decision. Option B says that it shall not be rescinded. One of those should be chosen. And if one of those, if option A is chosen, that goes along with option D, unless the council is going to add additions, which if option B is chosen, this is getting confusing, I know. And the public doesn't see these motions, but essentially if you're going to do anything tonight, you got to address whether it's going to be rescinded from December 5th. And if it is rescinded, then you would vote on the proposal as if it had not been voted on yet. So that means you read by title only, and then should it be denied or should it be approved, and are there any conditions?
Your Honor, I have a question.
So if option A, if we went with option A, then we would need to do a vote on option D also.
That is correct.
Or
C or D.
C or D.
C or D. C or D, yeah, if you're going to add amendments.
You're going to make amendments.
C. Your Honor, I have one question as well.
Councilman?
Can any council member make this motion, or does one from the opposing side have to make it?
Any council member can make it, because the motion for reconsideration has already been approved, and so we're now at the stage of voting on rescinding or approving or denying the underlying motion.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion.
Your Honor, just for the record, you looked at 3 different signs that I believe were entered into the record. One was a sample of a Target sign, one was Home Depot, and one was for the Signal Butte commercial development. So your intention would be for a sign to resemble something like that?
Well, and that was my question is if option, what item, the reconsideration for possible action, if it's just brought up for action or not, what if a person did want to bring it up and then make different revisions that we felt we got tonight?
Can we use option C?
You can do that, and you could say, if you want to, on the sign issue, that any sign shall be similar to or closely related to the Target sign, which is in the record.
Right. And my question to that is, we have to do A to get the sign redone, because then we would have to go to option C, and in that motion, put the new sign. So we have to do A.
That's the only way you could do it. Yeah.
And then also, Your Honor, there were some comments made about a development agreement. My understanding is there is no development agreement connected with this. All the terms and conditions need to be included in the ordinance.
Well, there is a development agreement that deals with the property, and that dealt with when the property was annexed into the city. The current zoning is THPD, Planned Development. Or, I'm sorry, well, depends on what happens tonight. But you're not voting on the development agreement. That has already been dealt with already.
And there won't be a development agreement connected to this rezoning.
That's correct, not with this rezoning, except what was already agreed to that did deal with the property. And there were some standard provisions regarding annexations, and I believe those signatures have been received. They're annexed into the property, into the city. So the majority of those items have been dealt with. I think there are some issues regarding reviews of plans that we'll expedite, and I think the city does do that already.
I think I used the word development agreement with the crime-free housing.
Oh, okay.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion.
Councilman.
I move that the vote on December 5th relating to ordinance number 1283 be rescinded in its entirety.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Insulaco?
No.
Councilmember Deeds?
Yes.
Councilmember Severs?
No.
Vice Mayor Eck?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldron?
Yes.
Councilmember Sippel?
Yes.
Mayor Coleman?
Yes.
5 in favor, 2 opposed. The motion carries, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Councilman Sippel.
I move that ordinance number 1283 be read by title only and the reading of the entire ordinance be waived.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Vice Mayor Eck?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldron?
Yes.
Councilmember Sippel?
Yes.
Councilmember Insulaco?
Yes.
Councilmember Severs?
Yes.
Councilmember Deeds?
Yes.
Mayor Coleman?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor. Ordinance number 1283, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Apache Junction, Arizona, amending the Apache Junction, Arizona zoning ordinance by amending the zoning district map, city of Apache Junction, Arizona, changing the zoning district classification in rezoning case PZ-13-06 from trailer home site by plan development PH/PD to general commercial by plan development C-3/PD, repealing any conflicting provisions and providing for severability.
Your Honor.
Councilman.
I move that ordinance number 1283, as read by the city clerk, be denied.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Waldron?
Yes.
Councilmember Sippel?
Yes.
Councilmember Insulaco?
No.
Councilmember Deeds?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Eck?
No.
Councilmember Severs?
No.
Mayor Coleman?
Oh, my vote actually counts this time. This is for denial, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
4 in favor, 3 opposed. The motion for denial carries, Your Honor.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and adjourn.
There is